Hi everyone, thank you for joining us on our TNT, reminding you that we'll be coming out closer to 10 a.m. rather than 9 a.m. for our weekday programs in the future. Let's get stuck into today's program. We start with Coconuts Bangkok, part of coconuts.co. The Thai government to stop arranging flights back home from Israel today. And there will be no more evacuation flights arranged by the Thai government to bring Thais back from Israel after today. And that was announced by the Royal Thai Embassy in Tel Aviv. They said travellers should head and report to the Intercontinental Tel Aviv Hotel on November the 1st at 5 p.m. for the last chance for an evacuation flight. And they've got some emergency and embassy contact numbers. And a government spokesperson said that Thais in Israel can still book their own flights back and apply for a refund. Further down there, the Thai government has arranged relief efforts to help Thai migrant workers evacuate the country since yesterday. The government's allocated 1.2 billion baht for Thais who are in need to repay debts or start new businesses. The Government Savings Bank and the Bank of Agriculture and Agricultural Cooperatives have agreed to provide a combined 2 billion baht in long-term loans. And less than 8,000 out of 30,000 have returned as of Tuesday, 3 weeks after Hamas launched its attack on Israel. As of Tuesday, 7,891 Thai workers have been repatriated. And Thailand's foreign minister is currently in talks with the Qatari prime minister and foreign minister, as well as the Egyptian foreign minister, for their assistance in negotiating the return of 22 Thais held captive by the military group. Let's find out more about those efforts. We go to nationthailand.com. Foreign Minister calls on Qatar and Iran to help secure a release of Thais held hostage by Hamas. And third paragraph down there, Pan Pri praised Qatar's role in providing humanitarian aid to war victims and working hard to address the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas. Both Thailand and Qatar back negotiations that can lead to a genuine resolution, with the Qatar Prime Minister commiserating for the deaths of 32 Thai workers. Thailand was not involved in the conflict and its nationals should be among the first freed by the militants. Later in the day, Pan Pri met Iran's foreign minister, and then his next stop was Cairo, where he met key officials, calling for assistance in securing the release of Thai hostages. But he said that though the Thai government is committed to securing the swift release of all hostages, their exact location is unknown. He says nobody knows if Hamas is keeping the hostages inside or outside the Gaza Strip. And hence a lot of the confusion and the delays in trying to secure the release of these hostages, but nobody could ever say that Thailand isn't doing its best to try and secure the release. And a big thanks to our sponsor, 5 Star Marine. Now there's a link in the description if any of you want to come to Phuket and go on a boat ride. There's a special deal in the description below. Otherwise you can go to this website, 5starmarinephuket.com, and check out some of the destinations for the next time you're coming to Phuket. Thursday's TNT, thanks for dropping in. Please subscribe to the channel. And we now check out on a couple who did something a lot of people don't do these days, which is riding on an elephant. Anyway, these two had a go at it. Didn't go as expected. Couple medevaced back to Utah after jumping 10 feet off a rogue elephant in Thailand. And this covered by InsideEdition.com. And Mark Martin says the first sign of trouble came when the guide whipped the elephant and the animal got angry and knocked the guide off its back. And Nicole Siri and Mark Martin, who live in Utah, captured everything on video and shared their harrowing incident exclusively with Inside Edition. And Siri and Martin were left alone atop the elephant, and their guide tried to catch up with them on foot. Martin said, "We can't control the elephant. We don't know any command words. We rode it for about a half hour without the guide on it." That would have been an interesting experience. You wouldn't have been knowing where you're going. I suppose you could only hope that the elephant did. But on the edge of a cliff, the elephant started to move faster. The animal made its way back to the village, where the locals tossed bananas and sugarcane, hoping the elephant would stop. But it kept going and started its rampage. And the elephant knocked over a man on a motorbike and then crushed the bike. So Mark said, "Okay, we're jumping, right?" And I was like, "We're jumping." Then Mark says he just takes his trunk and his head starts crushing me into the ground. I heard bones breaking. Martin was left with a broken back and a shattered pelvis. Siri broke her back. Of course, a GoFundMe page was set up to try and help them repatriate. Doctors in Thailand told the couple they'd be hospitalised for months, but a friend arranged for Siri and Martin to be medevaced back to Utah, a 20-hour flight. The couple's healing at home, lucky to be alive. So we sort of got into the politics of riding on elephants on the Grumpy Old Men program on Sunday, and I know a lot of you will have your own attitudes towards that, but still there are elephant rides available in Thailand and tourists continue to take them. But be aware, sometimes the elephant doesn't want to cooperate. Well, a lot of places extending their closing hours in some tourist locations. I think that's starting for the New Year holidays. But Chiang Mai Airport also started extending its hours. BangkokPost.com reporting Chiang Mai Airport starts 24/7 operations. And the Chiang Mai Airport began around-the-clock services on Wednesday with a Thai Vietjet flight that had left for Osaka. And the airport had previously operated 18 hours a day from 6 a.m. to midnight. In September, the Prime Minister Seta Thavisin voiced support for the AOT's plan for 24-hour service at the airport. The AOT promised to coordinate flight schedules with airlines to minimise the impact on local residents. Now, given the number of flights that come into Chiang Mai Airport already, you would have thought that 18 hours a day was enough. But no, they've decided to extend the hours to 24/7. Some people aren't happy. Many local people were upset by the expansion of services and accompanying noise and air pollution. They protested against it and said they'll file a complaint asking the administrative court to block the move. Well, apparently they already have. Don't like their chances. Might have to put up with planes coming in and out 24 hours a day now. We head to Pattaya now and to thepattayanews.com. Rideshare and wind drivers confront each other outside of Pattaya police station. So did they go there for an official protest or something? Well, according to reports, the incident took place at 8:30 p.m. on October the 31st, right at the front of the Pattaya police station in Nong Pru. Apparently, a male driver who reportedly worked for the Bolt application approached a conventional motorbike taxi rider, typically referred to as a wind driver, while holding a beer bottle with an apparent intention to harm him. The wind driver at the same time drew a knife in preparation for the impending attack. However, police officers noticed the situation and promptly decided to intervene to prevent a potential fight, subsequently arresting both parties. Either a brilliant place to stage a fight, depending on sort of what you expect for an outcome. And the police did not officially disclose the motive behind the incident, but eyewitnesses state that the two parties confronted each other, possibly due to a passenger dispute. It's always a passenger dispute. And there were about 4 to 5 Bolt drivers present. One of them began advancing towards the wind driver, prompting eyewitnesses to notify the authorities. And the article says that in September of this year, a group of wind drivers in Pattaya allegedly ganged up to obstruct a ride-sharing driver from transporting a female passengers. And the more popular these ride-sharing apps become, the more often we're going to have these sort of incidents when the traditional taxi and wind drivers sense that there's greater competition. And now the same situation has happened quite a lot in Phuket. And we go to this headline in Phuket-go.com. Taxi tuk-tuk drivers rally in Patong to protest baht bus plans. Now, when I've been in Pattaya in the past, I've really enjoyed the convenience and the reliability and the cheapness of the baht bus, which sort of goes on various routes. It looks like they're trying to introduce something similar in Phuket. I'm not sure if the taxi mafia is going to be happy about that, though. Well, of course they'll protest, says the article. Phuket's taxi cabals have long protected the gangs and rackets that have trashed the island's transport reputation for decades. This latest proposal for some competition is no different. Phuket taxi and tuk-tuk drivers are protesting against plans for a new baht bus circular service for Patong. And the Patong Mayor Chalomsak has criticised the proposed baht bus plans, saying the service will have a negative effect on local taxi drivers. The Mayor says there's been no information from the Phuket Provincial Transport Office, adding that he'd be happy to be an intermediary between the PPTO and the taxi drivers. Meanwhile, an MP for Phuket District 2 has called for the baht bus plans to be put on hold. The MP says the project risks damaging the livelihoods of at least 200 drivers in Patong, whose views have never been sought or taken into consideration. Remembering that these tuk-tuk and taxi drivers have had it all their own way in Phuket for decades, squeezing out any possible competition. The article goes on October the 17th, the Land Transport Office posted 3 notices announcing it was accepting applications from potential bus service providers across 3 different routes. 2 notices concerned circular routes in Patong, while the third related to a service linking Patong and the old bus station in Phuket town on the other side of the island. As I said, I thought the baht buses were a really convenient and a great alternative. And Phuket needs alternative types of transport more than possibly it needs anything else. So I'm right behind this baht bus proposal. Now, a lot of foreigners remain both sceptical and concerned about the possible ramifications of changes to taxation of incoming monies into Thailand. And PattayaMail.com's got this article saying they're not coming after you, says expert on taxing foreign cash to Thailand. And Thomas Carden advised worried expats living here, that's Pattaya, on cash already taxed in the home country, not to panic. The MD of the Bangkok-based AI Tax Advisors, or is it A1 Tax Advisors, that the Thai authorities had no intention to punish typical retirees or foreigners married to Thais or bringing up families. Moreover, the double taxation agreements between Thailand and 61 countries, which included all those represented at the club meeting, including the US and the UK, were an added safeguard. He did stress that the Thai Revenue Authority would need to ascertain who had taxable income in Thailand and who didn't. Therefore, it was likely at some future date that all foreign tax residents, that's those living in Thailand for more than 180 days in any one year, would need a Thai Revenue Thai identification number and be required to fill in an annual tax return. And he speculated that the tax number might become part of the immigration application process for 1-year extensions of stay. He said this was the obvious way to separate the foreign sheep, who had no taxable income here, from the foreign goats, who did. And this article in PattayaMail.com goes on, the MD explained the idea of taxing foreign income in Thailand was nothing new. And further down there, Mr. Carden pointed out that the scheme could even be delayed until January 2025 because no new law has been passed. Rather, the Revenue Authority had updated its own regulation. I suppose that should be hadn't updated its own regulation. And his advice to worried expats is to do absolutely nothing until told clearly to take some action. And that's exactly the same advice I've been giving concerned commenters on this channel. We really don't know the details, so just don't worry until we do. Meanwhile, this story in ThailandBusinessNews.com, Singapore to start taxing foreign-sourced income from 2024. So it's not just Thailand getting in on this act. And the key takeaways from this article, Singapore will start taxing foreign-sourced capital gains from 2024, marking a significant shift in its tax system. So it looks like things like this are happening in different parts of the world, including neighbours in Singapore. And to this story about people perhaps looking to move to Thailand, we're always interested in people's different experiences. And this reported in walesonline.co.uk. It's got nothing to do with seafaring mammals. And the story says a man moves to Thailand to save £10,000 a year in rent. And the man moved from the UK to Thailand to live in a 3-bedroom villa with a pool and jacuzzi, as it's cheaper than London. And further down there, the ex-athlete's been travelling with his 29-year-old sister, who's an artist, since October last year, and they both initially wanted to move to Barcelona, Spain, before settling on Thailand. Richard quit his job as a compliance and immigrations officer after making more money as an Amazon seller and realising he could work from anywhere online. Richard and Santa now live in a 3-bedroom villa with a pool and spend £700 on rent and pay £2.50 for their water bill and between £25 to £30 on electricity every month. So I just had to find out exactly how much a pound was worth these days. Apparently it's about 44 Thai baht to a British pound. And he says, it's cheaper and the weather is nice. There are lots of digital nomads here. I know what you're wondering. We'll get to that soon. Richard and Santa found a place for £700, less than half the price of their family rented home in London, but said they could have found something much cheaper if they went for a smaller home. They're able to live in Thailand on educational visas, and Richard is learning Thai boxing, Muay Thai, to comply with his. This is a problem for people who want to be digital nomads and work in a place like Thailand. There's no specific digital nomad visa. I have always said there should be. So they have to go and find other visas to try and find something that suits them and something that they can afford. Richard says the cost of living is very cheap and a night out will cost him a maximum of £30. Richard plans to stay in Thailand for the next few years as he also manages parties on several islands near Chiang Mai. Now, I love those islands near Chiang Mai, but wants to keep travelling and living in other countries. It looks like managing those parties on those beautiful islands near Chiang Mai is part of his educational visa. But good luck to Richard and Santa. Always good to hear different people's experience coming to Thailand, trying to stay for a long time. What visas are they using? What are they finding in regards to the cost of living? And we're happy to pass that on to you. Hopefully you're a bit more up to date with things happening around Thailand. Please subscribe to the channel. Please support 5 Star Marine, our sponsor, and we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.